Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Fuegolicious. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. Bout get jitty, cause you know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty. Yeah, cause this unhinged comedy. And right now you're in the mix, so get ready, cause we bout to get it poppin'. And we ain't stopping. Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged.
Hello and welcome to the Mangina Dialogues podcast. I am one of your hosts, Nick Scopes.
And I'm the artist formerly who had balls. Go ahead, Nick. It's all yours.
Thanks, dude. And our guest today, I can't wait to hear his reaction to the song. It's very funny, Ian Bagg. What's up, Ian? How are you?
Hi, everybody. It's good to be here. That was awesome. I loved it. That was on. It's the internet bumped, so it sounded like it had some radio edits too. So it was awesome. I loved it.
It had someone choking on something.
Was that? What did somebody make that for you? Did you guys have that made specifically for you?
Yeah, I actually I did have it made for us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Back when I thought that it would have not had the life that it actually has.
Right.
And not only that, it has a video. It's done by puppets. So there's a video that accompanies that song. It's pretty funny.
You guys are even better than I thought. Instantly.
Yeah. Well,
Puppets. Goddamn hippity hop.
That's exactly what it is. And it makes me feel bad that we had to play that song after talking about our friend Earl Skakel.
We just talked about 80s butt rock. Earl would appreciate that too.
Yeah, I don't think he appreciated it much when he had to hear it, but
he's a rich kid, so his emotions don't really move. If he's either excited or sad, you'd never know. You think he's just bored all the time.
Got a great collection of Rat t-shirts.
Oh, he's got a collection of hockey jerseys too.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yep.
He's got a collection of money.
Buy those hockey jerseys. So
I met him at a gig that was like a fundraiser that was some guy that I didn't know asked me to do, and it was at the Forest Lawn Cemetery Theater in Los Angeles, and it holds about 3,000 people, and there may have been 4 or 5 tickets sold. And that's why I met Earl, and I was like, well, this is just hellish. And then we became friends after that, and I gave him a shot. I just couldn't stop talking about the size of his head because he was a Kennedy, and I just like, I can't believe they let your cousin into a convertible with the size of that melon. They're just
So wait a second. You guys did a show at the cemetery for 4 people, and it was that sounds insane.
Well, it was insane because it was a fundraiser for kidney disease, renal failure, and I instantly thought, well, if it's at the cemetery, we're saying we never cured it, is what we're saying. This is where you're all coming.
Dude.
Whoever put that on has a very fucked up sense of humor.
The guy was a mess. He was a tennis pro that thought he'd do stand up and was never funny, and just Kirk something, I think was his Kirk. It was his name. And Earl probably remembers it more than I do because he remembers always those freaky things. I'm just like, oh, it's just another gig, but I met you, buddy.
My God, dude. It's blowing my mind, dude. Like, we're going to have a benefit for a deadly disease at a cemetery.
Just want to show everybody what can happen if we don't cure this fucking disease.
Yeah.
All 4 people were like, fuck yeah.
And at the time, it was probably about 15 years ago, so much younger. And I was just blown away that a cemetery had a theater that size. And I'm like, well, this is just a waste of a great theater to put it in here. And then you realize, oh, that's where all the famous dead people go to get buried. That's why it's so big. I get it now. But still at the same time, I was like, why would they put a theater in a cemetery? That's the first place I ever seen people barbecuing in a cemetery too.
I've not seen that. I'm gonna have it good barbecue.
I didn't stop. I'm just like, oh God, too close to the crematorium.
That was the discount funeral. They just do it in a one of those like charbroils you buy at Home Depot.
Yeah, exactly. You just leave it there. Just the ashes, dust to dust. Uncle Lord Leroy love ribs. Now let's get it doing. I don't know why I want Leroy too. That was uncalled for. That was uncalled for.
Yeah,
that one.
really.
There's a lot of white
racist
Leroys too.
Son of a bitch. Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Well, speaking of hockey,
Yes,
you're from Canada, right?
I am originally from Canada.
And you're a hockey player.
I played hockey now. Around, I'm almost 50 years old. So yeah, I just play stupid every so often.
Did you like how far did you play a lot of hockey? Like how far did you take hockey?
I played a lot of hockey, but I knew at about 15 or 16 I wasn't going to the NHL. Like I consider myself a donkey. I can run with horses, but when they want to leave me behind, they leave me behind. That's what I consider myself. So I got I got all the heart, no talent, and all the talent, no heart. I'm that guy.
You're the Rudy
Yes.
of Canada. Yeah.
I'm the Rudy Ratophorus of Canada, and I can play still, and it impresses people that can't play. That's but people that can't play, for like, you donkey, get out of here. So.
I haven't skated. I think Nick's heard me tell this story a couple of times, but I haven't ice skated since I was like a teenager, right?
Oh, really?
And I mean, I didn't ice skate a lot, but I ice skated enough, played a little hockey. I grew up in New Jersey. It wasn't a huge thing by us. But a bunch of years later, not that long ago, I was working with like a well-known sports painter named Brian Fox, who is from New England, and he did a bunch of stuff with the NHL for the Winter Classics, right?
Right.
And then a guy locally is very big into hockey. He owned a team on Cape Cod, then was involved in the Russian Hockey League. So around the time of the Vancouver Olympics, I was kind of acting as this guy's manager, right? So this guy Scott was putting together some pickup hockey games at the Olympics, right? At the venue.
No way.
Yeah, before the games. But he was a professional hockey guy. So these emails are being sent around like, hey, we're going to play, pickup game A at 7 a.m. on the 12th. Let me know who's in and I'll get you jerseys, right?
Oh.
So I'm on this email, like being invited to play in this pickup hockey game at the Olympics, right? So.
Well, that should have made you say no right away.
Well, dude, you have no idea. So on the email was Eric Lindros, Brian Leach, Mark Messier, like a string of ridiculous, like Hall of Fame hockey players.
What you should have done was just kept trying to take their numbers.
Right. Well, what I responded back to was, I got goal. I need number 99.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. And then you were unceremoniously off the email. That's what happened.
I was like, how come I'm off this email chain?
I did one. So 2010 Olympics was one of my favorite years. I got to play in a fundraiser for, I can't remember, it was for something to do with the Olympics in Vancouver area, where I played with all these NHL guys, and it was great. And I was considered an actor, and I got to play with Igor Larionov and all these Vancouver Canucks that I loved, and it was great. And be on the bus and have our own trainers. It was the best week of my life. I'm like, I made the NHL.
It might have been that game. It could have been those games.
It might have Doug Risebrow, people like that. I would have recognized if Lindros had been there. I would have been there. I would have recognized that because it would have been great. But it was so much fun. And then I came back to America, and I met my wife, and actually she had just moved in with me, and I was deported.
What?
I was on an O1 visa, and I was on I had an O1 visa. I was on it for 15 years, but it had to be renewed every 3 years. And the last one they did, the lawyer just shanked it into the woods like you wouldn't believe. Like, spelt my name wrong, saying I was a scientist, forgot to put the paperwork of the people that were sponsoring me into the petition. And it was just, so my wife's like, who the hell are you? And it just, all they do is they send you in. I got a letter saying, can you be out of the country by this date? You are now deported. My wife's like, what the hell? So we spend all my money getting a new lawyer and stuff, but I have to go back, and it's right around the end of the Olympics that I have to go back. So I show up 2 days before the Olympics end. the first night's okay, but the second night is the end of the Olympics, and it's Canada play. The last day is gold medal hockey, and Canada plays America. And holy shit, I have never been so wrecked in my life. I had a photo for the longest time. The Vancouver mayor was at that time was in a wheelchair. He was a quadriplegic, and he was driving me around on his lap in the wheelchair. We were just hammered out of our trees. It was great. Thank you, Red Bull. That was a lot of fun. That we got. I just remember the evening ending when a DJ had a mouse for a head. I was just like, this guy's an idiot. I'm going home.
You're like, fuck this.
Speaking of being
this pansy, Disney.
Did you really go to school to be an explosives engineer?
I started. I was just talking about this the other day with a friend. I worked in a gold mine, and the way I started in a gold mine, I started with a explosives company. And I started really from the bottom. I was just a swamper, so I just cleaned out the magazines where all the explosives were kept and loaded explosives onto trucks. And from there, I started going on the deliveries and just being the helper there. And then from there, I started to learn how to drive the trucks with the explosives on it. And then from there, they put me into a gold mine, and I was the explosives engineer's helper. So he would set up all the patterns and tell me how much explosives I had to put in all the holes, and I would get all this explosives and put it and line it up and set it up. So I wanted to be him because I knew how much money I was making just being nobody. I was like, that guy must be making so much money. And I remember a couple times we had to jump underneath the truck because they're like, oh, too much. Was on too much. We had to jump, just explosions of stuff running, driving. I'm like, oh god.
You're in your own action movie.
Yeah.
Like when you're running away from the no.
And I was 19 years old, right? So I'm 19 years old. They give me a pickup truck. They give me explosives. They put me in a camp in the middle along the Canadian American border, Alaska. There's a little town there called it's called Hyder, Alaska. It's just 3 bars and a bunch of weird people. It's unmanned. So it's a border with no border guard.
Right.
So you just fill out a piece of paper and you put it in an envelope, and then you put it in a mailbox, and then somebody checks it a month later or something like that when you cross. And we had to go into Hyder and we just get hammered. There was one girl in that town. It was first time I'd ever had a girl holding my penis while peeing.
For the first time, yeah. I want to know about the other times.
Yeah, the other times, it just gets downhill after that, to be honest with you. But we were just and grizzly bears everywhere, and it was just fantastic. So I was headed off to learn how to do explosives, and I actually want to do implosions. I was like, I want to live in the city. I want to live in the city. I don't want to live in the bush. I want to be able to learn how to take buildings out when they're getting rid of them. Right. So that's what I was going to go to school for. But I also still had a passion because since a kid, I've wanted to be a comedian. So I still had a passion that I wanted to be a comedian. And before I went to school, I tried open mic, and I never went to school. I just I'm a comedian. As soon as my first open mic, I was just like, I am a comedian. So that's what I did. And then I just took odd jobs and worked as a comedian.
Did your first open mic go well? Is that why you were like, oh yeah, I'm doing this? Or did you just love being up there and doing it?
My first open mic was a contest. They do those contests. So I do this contest, and I'm from this like little village in Canada, up near Alaska, I'm not too far away from this camp that I'm working at. So I don't know much. I'm pretty innocent and green, and I don't know anybody in entertainment. I don't know how it works. As far as I know, entertainment's the same as an Archie comic book. You're walking down the street and a limo drives by and says, "Hey, you should be in show business. Get in my car." Which is also how you end up in porn. But it's I'd have no idea. So it's a contest. I go into this contest. I'm nervous. My friend gives me a shot. He buys me a shot, which is called a Prairie Fire, which is vodka with Tabasco in it.
Oh.
So that's what calms me down. So I go on stage and I'm so nervous, and I've written all my jokes on my hand and I've sweated them off my hand. So now I'm up there doing impressions of fish with my
Can you do one now? An impression of a fish?
Oh, that's a what right there. That's a coho, right? You got to bend that in a little bit. The coho salmon, they got that kind of under that hook underneath there. They got that hook underneath there. So I'm doing that with my hand. So I just have fun, and of course I don't win the contest, but I think, oh, that's my shot at show business. That's what I think. So I'm like, I gave it a shot.
Didn't
I'm
work
gonna
out.
Yeah, I'm going to do mining. As I'm about to walk out of the building, the manager says, "Hey, come back next week and do we have open mics starting back up next week, so just come back and do open mic." I'm like, okay. If he hadn't have said that to me, I would have never gone back. So I went back from there and just kind of just worked my way up.
Wow. Now, so you start in Canada,
Yeah.
and then when was the trip? Did you go to like New York first? Or did you go right to LA?
No, I went to New York first. So I've been doing comedy for about 3 or 4 years. I follow my friend Craig Campbell, who is in the Montreal Comedy Festival in Montreal. And I go along with him to watch. And who knows, I might get a spot. And sure enough, I get a spot. I get a spot at a place called the Comedy Works, where all the people are working out before they go out and do their big shows. And somebody didn't show up, and I knew the owner, Jimbo, and he said, "Hey, Ian, go on. You got 10 minutes to fill until somebody else shows up. So we need you." So I went on. Somebody see me there, and they're like, "This guy's got to go on one of these other shows." So they put me on one of their book shows. Somebody see me there, and they invited me to New York. I thought that meant I should have moved to New York. So guess who went to New York? I went to New York, and that was Lucian Hold of the comic strip. And he used to put me on stage there. I was underground. I was illegal, didn't have work papers, and he'd throw me $15 a night under the table, and it was fun. I lived in a youth hostel.
Yeah, I was going to say, I lived in a youth. How long did you live in that youth hostel?
3 months. 3 months I lived in that youth hostel. Yeah.
Did you ever do, by chance? I mean, I'm sure not. I mean, you're obviously way past it now, but there's a youth hostel comedy show in Santa Monica.
I used to do the one in LA. I don't know if you remember the one on Hollywood.
No.
There was one on Hollywood, and it was run by, I can't remember who it was run by, but me and Gaffigan we used to go there and just do stand up on late I can't think it was Tuesday nights. We go there late night and just do these shows from the people around the world, and it was so great to do because you couldn't rely on American pop culture. Right. They didn't know. Yeah, so you had to make them laugh. You had to figure out how to make them laugh, and that's why we loved it. Yeah, I went to see a couple friends do the one down in Santa Monica last year. I went a few times, and it was kind of cool and very strange because there was only a handful of people in the room that English was their first language. It was right all over the friggin' world, and you didn't really know what they were laughing at, if they were laughing at the jokes or if they were just laughing when other people laughed. And yeah. Bad for the people, the comedians who were trying to do comedy because they're using. Yeah, but it's so good man, to like that's what's great about how I started out in Canada. It was me jumping into the backs of actual headliners' cars and doing 5 minutes on their show in the middle of nowhere, and getting on in a coffee shop, getting on here, getting on, just going anywhere and do it. And I also feel the same way about Zoom, like getting on and getting your ass handed to you on Zoom is great. It's just, it teaches you for the next time how to smooth those corners, and how to be funny. And it's every comedian should do it. You should never do the same thing over and over again. Right. You should know how to do all of them.
I've never had to do a show in front of people that, like, for example, from other countries and didn't really get the humor, which I could see the challenge in that. This happened to me recently. It's not a show, but I work here at a gym here in Connecticut. I'm a personal trainer. Talking to these two sisters that come and work out there, both from Venezuela. They're, educated, smart. They've been in America a while. We got to talking about like history and nationalities and stuff. And they're like, they asked me, they go, "Are you Jewish at all?" And I was like, "Actually, my dad owned a bagel shop, so does that count?" And they just were like, "What?" Like they didn't, they don't get, like, I was like, "Oh, that's like, I guess that's an American, like the Jewish people like bagels." Yeah, like exactly. I'm from New York, like maybe they missed that.
Right.
So I couldn't even imagine a whole crowd of, like, that's wild.
What that's good for you to be able to figure out other people's. Like I loved a couple years ago. I got to go to Europe with Gabriel Iglesias, and we did hockey venues. You know, we're doing like 5,000-6,000 people in
That's
Germany, in Denmark, and you know, and try it and being able to they come up to me and talk to me like, you knew things about us, you know, like they love that I knew things about them. So, and I wasn't just sticking with you know, America.
Right. But when you're over in another country or playing to a crowd like that, right? And you know, so you're like, I think, you know, as far as I've seen, like the absolute best at the whole crowd work, engaging the audience. I mean,
Show's over. We're done. Good night.
it's just, I mean, I was telling Nick before, like I was just watching the videos and I was laughing, like just so. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's fucking seamless. It's crazy how quick that is.
Oh, thanks, man.
How does that work when you're overseas and the audiences are definitely English, not their first language? You know, some countries there might be, but like, how do you play that there?
I think right there is our America's embarrassment. You know, they're so good. They're so good at English. It's not their first language, but they get it.
Right.
You know, they know what they need to know the rest of the world. So if they're going to show up, they know what's going on. I remember one time I went to China with Gaffigan, and they had interpreters. They had a couple interpreters. I remember that. It was mostly expats, but then it was interpreters. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. We'll see how this goes over. So you gotta, it's connection, right? That's what stand-up is. It's connecting with people. So I have to find it common ground. And, you know, if I went someplace and something stuck out to me, I'd bring it up and ask them about it. Then we'd go on. And then the next night I would have the thing. I know what that was. You know what I mean? And I'd bring it up, and then I'd have a joke about them telling me about it. So that's how that worked, you know?
Do you like, I was watching, I think it was the Lovitz show that did, and one of like the most classic things is when you started talking to the family that was in the front row, right? The two teachers and then the mom and the dad, right? When you go on to stage and you see that, are you salivating at what that can be for your show?
No, I'm terrified. I'm terrified. Like, I'm just like, why would you have that kid there? Why? Like, that's just gonna screw everything up. Oh, why would you do that? And then, you know, little test, and then, oh, dad's not enjoying this, but the son is. Oh, dad's enjoying this, but mom isn't. Mom is enjoying it, dad is, but the kid isn't. You know, like you just kind of like, you just test, you tickle, and you see what goes on. And just, I never check what's out there, right? So sometimes it's back for me. Like in the final round of Last Comic Standing, they had the people in the front rows that had lost rounds before.
Right.
And I didn't know, but that fucked me up so bad because they hate you. You're at the finals. And I just like, well, this is just dumb. Whoever set this up, you know, I was just so angry. I just remember that who are those people? They know nothing about entertainment, those assholes, you know. I was just so mad about it. So, but I don't like to know what's out there. I don't like to know what the other comedians talked about. I go back to hockey. It's a clean sheet of ice. Yeah. I don't want to know if somebody skated on it. The Zambonis come over and cleaned it, and now it's for me because I know nothing about it.
Right.
Yeah, dude, that like Greg was mentioning, the Lovitz clip. I think it was like different parts, but the clip I was watching, again, you were just ripping through crowd work, and the speed at which you were doing it, and like it was like a punch I feel like it was every 3 to 5 seconds, just
thanks.
Bang, bang, bang. But this is my question, because I'm newer in stand up. I'm 2 years in, counting coronavirus and all that shit.
So 6 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks roughly. But you know, I've sent, like, if any, you know, comic I've become friendly with who's, you know, knows what they're talking about, I'd be like, hey, would you mind if I sent you like a small set of mine, just give me critiques? And the critique for me is I'm more storyteller based, and they're like, you need to punch it up.
Right.
And then, you know, you see a guy like Anthony Jeselnik, who, I mean, that it's the longest silence ever, and then boom, usually at the end.
That's his style, though, right? That's what
Right.
he's doing. You know, that's you got to realize. But Anthony, over the years, has learned how to trim the fat, so that story is now, you know, that story is a completely different story than when he was 2 years in. You know, that's the big thing you learn as a comedian. You know, like, and 2 years in, you wouldn't know. Your editing is where is what's going to separate you from the rest. I think my phone just went off. Sorry. It's going to separate you from the rest of the pack. That's what you.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You know.
That was kind of my question. Like, did it take you a while? Like, is that just your style? You're just like boom, boom, boom. Because I've heard stories of like Segura talked about you a lot, about how like this guy Ian Bagg, he'll come on stage before you, and it's just fucking, to follow that guy's a nightmare. Because
that's a douche. Won't follow me. Good for his broken arm. No, but he's another one that he can tell a long, slow story. Like,
very slow, methodical, and like.
But you need to be you. Just be you, and learn to edit. That's the no. There's no wrong to comedy. You're either funny or you're not funny, right?
Right.
And if you're funny and you have a hard time finding you, that you know that you'll find it. It's. I remember there's a guy named Tom Stade that I started out with, and he now lives in Scotland, and he's hilarious. But when we started out, for his first 5 years, he was horrible. Just a funny guy, but he was horrible on stage because he just couldn't, he couldn't put it together. He couldn't get the blocks in the right spot, and that's 2 years in, 5 years in, you're still, you're still going. Some of your friends might be just rocking it, but just their consistency probably isn't there or something, it takes a while, and it's such a journey. Just enjoy the journey, and I know that's such a stupid thing to say as well, enjoy the journey.
Live the journey, man.
Yeah, exactly. But it is stupid. But
you're right.
It is. That's the big thing during COVID that I've learned. Like, I was just turning and burning for the last 10 years. Like I've missed a decade, because it's, this break has taught me to go, oh, you gotta enjoy things. You got to enjoy the learning, and you got to learn and see your plateaus and valleys and peaks, and you'll know more from paying attention.
Are you back out doing shows now?
Some, yeah. I've done a couple corporates.
How are those?
Fun, so fun. I did a party the other night that it was 50 people. And I was quite a distance from them, but I just had so much fun. And they were just, they're just like, oh, they felt like it felt so good, just to be an escape for people. And I could tell
a cemetery or a tar pit or
I was actually in a huge restaurant in Vegas. Like, it was huge. It was like a theater almost. And they were far back, but just, it was cool. And then I also go to this comedy club, the Grand Comedy Club in Escondido. Their entrance turned out to be a great outdoor room.
Wow.
It's just a room. And they just set up their whole room up outside, and probably about 75 people there when things are going good. And then I do some Zooms. I do some outdoors. A guy named Ahmed has got a room in Venice. They call it the Comedy Compound, Venice Comedy Compound. And
where's it in Venice?
I should know the address. It's a compound, somebody's compound that they've moved out, and then somebody owns it and said, oh, you can borrow it.
Oh, so it's like someone's private residence.
Yeah. So it's two buildings on each side, and inside this whole, play area. So the comics go on one side of a lap pool and the crowd goes on the other side.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's cool.
That's very Venice.
Yeah, it's very Venice, and the place used to be owned by Harrison Ford, so it gets even more Venice. Yeah.
So it's cheap real estate.
Oh yeah, it's just a pile of junk.
So a couple things.
Pile of shit.
Fucking Harrison Ford, Raiders of the Lost Ark money.
Name drop. Let me get that.
A show when I was looking at. I don't even know what I was doing on IMDb, but I was looking at stuff, and I saw that you were on a show, and you know what I'm going to say.
Boil, boil, doil and trouble.
So from homely to hot. What the fuck is that?
From homely to hot?
Were you on that?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, it's listed on your IMDb.
Really?
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. And I tried to you're like listed, like your picture and everything.
It's
And
your autobiography, dude. That's gonna be your book.
what?
Homely to hot.
Should go the other way.
There's a bunch of like there was like no description besides people that are normal, I guess, and now have a hot career. I don't know. It was weird. Like the description was really weird. You're gonna have to go look at it because
That's hilarious. If it's on IMDb, that would mean I should have been paid for it, right?
Not necessarily. I have a lot of credits I've never been paid for.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to find it.
Greg just makes them up. He just writes shit in. So
Yeah.
I was in a movie, a kids movie. My very first thing when I first started doing stand-up was a thing called Boil, Boil, Toil and Trouble. And it was with Ashley Kate and Mary Olson. And my character in it was called the Fat Man.
Oh, that's not what I was gonna say.
That's what some people bring up. But I think it might be my only thing on IMDb that I know of. Please send me a link to it so I can look at that.
Right now.
You son of a bitch.
There's not two of you, are there?
Is there an Ian Bragg?
No.
Ian Bragg.
IMDb is such a weird
Yeah.
It's a weird website anyways.
It's strange. Now, Ian, with everything going on, you said you've been doing Zoom shows and stuff like that. I haven't done what's that like? Like, do you hate it, love it, what?
Both. It's I've done some, so I don't mind because I'll just go through the grid and just talk to people individually. But then sometimes you do stand-up shows for a club and you just do your jokes and it's just deafening silence. You're just like, oh, just trying to
I'm on it. It's here. It's biography, Hollywood, from homely to hot. TV
really
documentary 2011. You played yourself.
That's you know what I think? I may have been like on there talking about people.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
That's so funny that I love it. I'm just well, I don't know which one I am, but pretty sure with this gap in my teeth, it is definitely not hot.
I have one too, dude.
Spit water on people. That's what you do.
Exactly.
I can do that also.
Gross.
So let's talk about your show.
Okay.
Around the Bagg.
I needed some water for that one. Around the Bagg. So I was just like, I love panel shows. So I started my own panel show based on Around the Horn, and I invite 3 friends on it, and nobody ever gets kicked off, but I just ask questions around the horn and everybody gets to answer, and they have 3 rounds, and sometimes I give away points, sometimes I don't. Some points are from minus 50 all the way up to $1 billion. And at the end of the game, somebody becomes my BFF for the week. So that's
and what does that entail?
You wouldn't be surprised. They have to get me from homely to hut. It's just fun. It's just another way of doing an interview show with kind of a game show feel, and not feeling like an infomercial. So it's just fun.
So who went on the show? Who have been some of like the highlight guests that have?
I had Paul Bissonnette on the last one from Spit and Chicklets.
Right.
He was on the one just before we ended at Christmas. Also, we've had Billy Gardell. We've had who we had. Jim Gaffigan's been on it. Michael Costa. We've done about. I'll be honest, we've done about 50 of them. When I first started doing, I was doing them every night. So I just like, and booking 3 guests every night is just painful. Yeah. So, and now I do it once a week, and we're actually putting the shows going on social.tv. I don't know if you know that. It's a marijuana lifestyle channel you can find on your Roku.
Really?
Yeah. So we're putting that on there, and it just kind of, it's just a fun show. It's just, it's an escape. It's got my sensibilities, and it's just hanging with your friends.
Right.
So.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I was on a while ago, like right in the early stages of this Corona thing. I was on Jess Wellington's Liars Club.
Oh yeah, I did that as well. Yeah, a lot of fun.
And I definitely, looking back on it, I picked the wrong 2 stories to go with, but it was a good time. It was fun like that.
And you made people cry, and you didn't lie.
Yeah,
I told the truth.
They actually, all of them picked the wrong. They didn't pick the wait, what did they pick? They got it wrong. They picked, what did they pick? The lie or the truth, whichever one they picked, they got wrong.
They thought your filth was the lie, but it was actually the truth.
What stories did you tell, Ian, when you were on there? Do you remember?
I told a story about me thinking my sister and her friend had been kidnapped. My dad and his friend stopping a truck and looking through the truck for the kids.
Is that true?
It's a true story.
Oh my God.
And I can't remember what the lie was.
Yeah, mine were the 2 stories where I got on stage and rapped with Naughty by Nature was one.
Oh, true.
And well, you tell me. And then the other story was that I came home drunk one night and peed on my mom, and then went in the bathroom and flushed the toilet.
I hope it's the first one. You peed on your mom? Oh my God.
No, I didn't.
Thank God.
That was a good pause, Greg. You really sold it. That was good.
I was like, oh God, he peed on his mom.
I was like, Ian's not going to have us on his podcast now. You just blew it. You told him about you peeing on your mom.
No, I didn't. That is a true story. It just isn't me.
Somebody else.
It is. I
remember my mom and dad going to a Christmas party when I was probably about 10 or 11. And we only had the one bathroom, and she was puking. I had to go to hockey practice the next morning. She was still like, and I just remember her lying on the ground going, "Pee over my head."
That's gross.
You were like, no, I'll just pee outside.
So I'd always tell stories about my parents being drunk, and my mom was like, "We weren't drunk," and I'm like, "You were that one time I had to pee over your head," and she, "Shut up."
That's funny. So are you a golfer?
Horrible golfer.
Didn't Brad Williams tell us that you were a good golfer? Nick, I mean, obviously I'm not asking Ian.
No, definitely not.
Didn't Brad say that Ian was the better of the golfers? He said that Santino was the better of the golfers.
It was Santino.
Was it?
He probably said hockey, maybe.
I don't remember. I thought
I have played hockey. I've played hockey with Brad.
Did you ever play golf with Brad?
No, definitely not.
Probably hockey then.
I do not trust the little people on a golf course.
Hockey with Brad?
What's that?
Did you say you played hockey with Brad?
Yes, I've played hockey with Brad.
Is there video of that anywhere?
No, we used to do a comic skate. So there was all sorts of comics out there, and Brad was out there. Yeah, he came out.
Oh,
that's fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
What position did he play?
I can't remember. I remember just he was like just like a bowling ball just going around there. I just remember like going. It was good. I remember Vince Vaughn came out and played with us. That was fun, but he couldn't skate at all, so he was just like along the boards. Who else? Joe Bartnick would play a lot, and he was a maniac, but just a maniac. There's a guy named who's really good. He's from Wisconsin. I can't remember his name. He's a really good skater. And then Bill Burr was the one that set it up, and also Steve Byrne. Steve Byrne's a pretty good skater too.
Yeah, Steve Byrne, didn't he played hockey, correct?
Yeah, he probably
played. He talks about he got into a lot of like weird fights. I remember him talking about.
Gets into a lot of weird fights.
What about you? Do you get in a lot of weird fights, Ian?
Nope. My fights are not weird. My fights are serious. And now I haven't fought in a long time. Like one of my last fights I remember was when I was probably about 27. Probably me and my buddy Alan Park rollerblading all over Vancouver, and this homeless guy kicked him. Just jumped out and kicked him and kicked his legs out from underneath him, and I just remember stopping, grabbing him, picking him up, and just holding him and punching him in the head like about 16 times. I just remember the feel of his face though on my hand. I was like, it's just a horrible feeling, it's just beating somebody like that and then just dropping him, and we rollerbladed away. I love that.
Batman of the Vancouver roller.
We just had that. I think we just played ice hockey and then we went rollerblading. Like it was around that age, you know. So we just done dropping hockey. Now we're skating around. I don't like being punched. I hate being punched. It's just I don't enjoy it.
I don't know who likes it. I couldn't even.
Some weirdos are out there just they liking fights. I don't. The people that talk about how good of fighters are, I really think
it's never. It's like people that talk about how wealthy they are. Chances are they aren't.
Right.
Wealthy. You know what I mean? You just or how strong they are or some shit. Now, have you ever had like a audience member?
Yes.
Yes, you had to have.
I think every comic has. If you look at it and around, even the most like boring comic has somehow ended up in some sort of altercation. Like somebody, I remember somebody came up and slapped me, and I was just like, do I punch him? And I was like, no. And then like I remember
why did he or she slap?
It was Virginia Beach. It was at a Christmas party. He was hammered. Just a douche.
Yeah.
I remember his wife was drunk. I remember he slapped me and the cops were called, and then there's a one-way street and his wife came down the one-way street in a vehicle the wrong way. So they both ended up in jail. It was just like, you know, there's some people out there that are just trash, you know, like they ruin everything for everybody. But I think every comic has ended up in, you know, I've had glasses thrown at me. I find it quite funny, you know, when that kind of stuff happens, when somebody freaks out, because I'm just like, all right. They're like, you're not doing it right, or you're do it. And I was like, no, you can just leave, you know, like I don't, but I don't know. People, there's a lot of mental health problems out there too. You know, so, but there's some really tough comics. There's some really that are pretty quiet about it. Adam Hunter is a guy that I wouldn't want to play around with. You know,
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I don't, you know, it's pretty obvious, you know.
Yeah, it's like I feel like no one at his shows ever gets out alive. Like I feel like
I think that kind of thing brings it on more. I'm sure.
I think so.
You know, I mean, like it's bizarre how people are. You know, it's like when you play professional sports, everybody thinks that they didn't get in the league because you were in the way of them. So you know, it's weird. I just find that people always want to take down the big dog, even though they love the big dog. You know,
it is weird because I've worked with a whole bunch of UFC fighters in different capacities through the years, and have been out with them in social settings, right? And they're no matter where you are, or what you do, you always hear someone, whether it's in a restaurant, a bar, a club, whatever it is, someone
doesn't look that big
behind you.
That
guy's not so tough. I could take it.
Get
him in the head. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That is the best UFC fighter in history. You're telling.
And also, it's on all of that. It's their job is being punched in the head. Yours is going to work, you know, like I tell you, the people that I wouldn't want to fight are some of these guys that work for real jobs, like that have insane human strength, like the guy that you know, puts together the lines for electricity going through. Like those, you see those guys, and they grab onto something and they just have hands that just are crescent wrenches, and it's just insane.
Yeah,
carries like telephone poles from one side to the other side.
Yeah, it's some of the toughest people I know. Just like, you're just like,
manual labor is a whole other. I two of my dad's best friends. My dad's a bigger guy, and he worked manual labor. He's got a pretty good grip. But
he had a bagel shop.
Before
Okay.
My grandfather was a landscaper, and he was like, but this is how my grandfather literally would take my dad out to work with him at 8 years old. He's like, you're on the truck today, like shit like that. Right. At 8. This is 1958, so I mean, different world. But two of the strongest guys I ever know, and my dad's close friends, they're both about 5'6", maybe 160. One owns a landscaping company. One owns a tennis court building company. And you shake their hand, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah,
like,
just
now they're like 70-year-old,
like they're wearing
like
gloves, right?
Yeah, like still, I remember when I was a kid shaking their hands and being like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? Like, he's small, but this hurts.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like leather on their hand, and you're like, holy shit.
I remember my dad's friends were all like heavy duty mechanics. I remember just like not wanting to touch their hands because it just hurt.
Yeah.
Always, you know, when you're a little kid, just like, oh, why would you do that to me? You know,
Dad. So what's coming up? What's on your agenda? What are you doing?
well, hoping to get the vaccination by August.
Okay.
Yeah. I am hoping to get the vaccination at some point, and then we're gonna get back to work, you know, here and there throughout but you know, just kind of staying away from people. We got I'll be going to the Grand Comedy Club about once a month starting in February. Go to ianbagg.com to watch that. To watch for when things are coming up. I'm going to start a Zoom show. This is my first announcement. A lot of people do podcasts on you know, and they put it on the thing. I would like the audience to be in and be able to be part of the conversation. So it's going to be kind of like, you know, an after show where I have a topic that we'll talk about and discuss with a crowd of from 25 to 250.
That's awesome. So you mean you're gonna do like a stand-up show, and then the crowd will
just an after show. Like, so I'll have a guest, and and we'll discuss something that happened. Like we'll say, hey, Entourage is, I don't know why I used Entourage, but Entourage is back. Let's talk about Entourage tonight. And Hill wants to talk about Entourage. We're going to talk about Entourage.
Oh, that's cool.
Or, hey, the hockey started tonight. Let's talk about hockey, you know.
That's awesome. It sounds like a great idea.
Great. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, just kind of do it. And probably charge because that way, well, it's not that. It's you have to, with Zoom live things, you have to be able to control who's in the room, who's part of it. Otherwise, you got some guy in the back with a swastika and another guy over here with his dick out just whacking it, you know. So you need to control who's.
Nah, dude, they're at the Capitol. They're not. They won't be.
They won't be.
Yeah, they're at the Capitol.
Too busy shitting on the wall at the Capitol.
Yeah. Did anyone see the videos of those guys getting arrested? Some of these people at the airport.
Oh, love it.
I mean, I don't know who the guy. I just sent it to Greg. I don't know who the guy's name is, but he did like a Goodfellas. Like,
yeah, it's really good.
Holy shit, dude. So good. Yeah. I love these people's reactions. They're freaking out. It's like, what did you think was going to go on? Like, what did you think was going to be the end result?
They thought he was going to walk with them all the way to the Capitol.
I mean, listen, nobody ever. Most people don't take getting arrested very well unless you're a career getting.
Yeah,
it was funny. It was funny watching the women.
Baby.
Oh. Yeah, the women don't. When the women are getting punched, have you seen the ones of the women's getting getting punched by the women? Oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Or the woman.
You're allowed to believe things, right? You're allowed to allowed to question things, but at some point it's your responsibility to believe whether it's real or not. And that doesn't mean just because you have feelings about something doesn't mean it's a fact. So you have to, things have to be based on fact.
Well,
we've all been paranoid.
But that's all most of it, not to get on like a tangent as we're wrapping up here, but that's all this shit is people don't know how to separate emotions from facts.
Right.
It's just, I'm on this team, you're on this team.
Right.
That's it. There's
it's also why we don't give everybody trophies.
Right.
But it's got a feel to it. Like, everybody's got to win. Everybody's got to win.
There is part of that. Everyone gets a trophy mentality that is far more rampant than it should be. Like, I don't know. I don't subscribe to everyone.
My favorite was the video of the woman crying, being like, "They maced me." It's like, yeah, you should have been shot dead. It's the fucking U.S. Capitol. Like, if I were a Secret Service or in the Marines, those snipers on the roof of the White House would be like, okay, I'm doing my job. Finally something to do today.
That's the weirdest part. Like, I think we all just went, well, I thought if we got that close, we'd all be mowed down. Everybody's like, well, I guess security isn't what we always thought it was.
I went into Walmart through the exit the other day by mistake and got yelled at by 7.
Right. Yeah. Have you seen the video of that lady, by the way, where with the Animaniacs?
No.
There's an Animaniacs where they put her response in where
yes. Yeah. Who do we podcast with? They just played it for us, Greg.
I don't know.
damn it. Anyway, I can't remember. But yeah, I heard that shit. That's so fucking
So
funny.
good.
Gotta love the internet sometimes,
I
you
know.
know?
The internet's
People hate
awesome.
on it.
The internet
It's the
makes
best.
the day.
The internet it's the best of the worst.
Exactly.
Thanks
All
for
right,
having me
man.
on your show, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
brother. Really,
Dude, thanks for taking the time, man. Like I've watched you. I've always heard about you. I watched you on your mom's house. Heard whispers of this guy who crushes. I'm like, who's he in Bagg? And then that was like a year ago, and I discovered you. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Tell your friends, please, please, if anybody could follow me on social media. It's Sir Bagg.
Sir, I love that.
It's Sir Bagg. I just, I just look forward to people. I'm not looking to stir stuff up, but I look for people that have the same thought process as me, where it's just, I like to have fun, and I don't think everybody's out to get me, and sometimes I'm grateful for what I have. I don't think I deserve it. I think I have to earn it to get anything. So,
well, you definitely have some of the funniest shit out.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, I forwarded that clip I watched.
Brad Williams and is talking about my golfing. I've never been golfing.
He sucks at hockey, so fuck him, right?
Fucking God damn it.
Fucking Brad talking shit about my golfing. I've never been golfing with that.
No, he wasn't talking shit. He wasn't.
Goddamn
My
3-wood.
recollection was he said that you were a good golfer. So
no, he's wrong. He's drunk if he's calling me a good golfer.
I don't know. And I'm going to default.
He might going to get checked for Alzheimer's if he thinks he golfed with me.
Take his clubs away.
That's right.
All right, dude. Keep in touch, man. We'll definitely.
Thank you, guys. I'd absolutely love.
Yeah,
I would love to have you on the show too.
Do your
yeah, absolutely. Let's set it up
for sure. I'll send you.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Stay gold, pony boy.